Penguin Random House Audio presents The Ghosts of Eden Park, The Bootleg King, The Women Who Pursued Him, and The Murder That Shocked Jazz-Age America. By Karen Abbott. Read for you by Rob Shapiro and Cassandra Campbell.
The truth was that J. Gatsby of West Egg, Long Island, sprang from his Platonic conception of himself. He was a son of God, a phrase which, if it means anything, means just that. And he must be about his father's business, the service of a vast, vulgar, and meretricious beauty. So he invented just the sort of J. Gatsby that a 17-year-old boy would be likely to invent. And to this conception he was faithful to the end. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. I will wear my heart upon my sleeve for daws to peck at. I am not what I am. William Shakespeare, Othello. Author's Note. As strange as this story may seem, this is a work of non-fiction, with no invented dialogue. Everything that appears between quotation marks comes from a government file, archive, diary, letter, newspaper article, book, or, most often, a hearing or trial transcript. One transcript in particular, which numbered 5,500 pages in total, allowed me to accurately depict detailed scenes and entire conversations, and to reveal characters' thoughts, gestures, personalities, and histories. For the sake of brevity, some trial testimony has been condensed. A comprehensive list of endnotes and sources, including for each line of dialogue, appears at the end of the print edition of the book.
Prologue. Reckoning, 1927. He had been waiting for that morning, dreading it, aware it couldn't be stopped. An hour ago he was eating breakfast, and now here he was, chasing her through Eden Park. The sun, strong for the season, bludgeoned through his fedora and inflamed his bald head. His silk trousers whisked against his skin. He heard the swish of his wingtips through the grass, the rasping of his breath. On the road nearby, a brigade of cars clamored in the rush-hour traffic. The throaty engines, the blaring of horns, the people determined to be someplace else. Exhaust fumes burned in his nostrils. Somewhere behind him were his own blue Buick and his driver, abandoned. He'd learned she wanted to kill him. His brain had wandered to a shadowy land, somewhere between sanity and madness. For 2 years he had not been right. Friends and associates would attest to the difference, a stark split between then and now. He had long referred to himself in the third person, but such declarations became more frequent. There seemed an odd detaching, as if part of him had crept outside of his skin. With the slightest provocation, just a single, specific word, his face purpled and his features knotted into a ghastly cartoon. He spoke of a halo hovering above his head, whispering to him, marking him wherever he went. He described shooting stars only he could see, their tails imprinting bright, lingering bolts inside his closed eyes. He rambled incessantly about love and betrayal and revenge. He embarked on nationwide searches, hoping to validate every suspicion that tumbled through his mind. He announced with unwavering conviction that people from all corners wished him dead, gangsters in St. Louis, a certain woman federal official in Washington, D.C., and, worst of all, his wife, Imogene, who had razed his world to the ground. His little Emma, his truest and sweetest, his prime minister, his centipede, his monkey, his gem. How would he ever forget those old dead endearments from their past? He just wished to talk to her, he'd insist. Maybe he could stop what she had set in motion. He had little time left. And there she was, finally, close enough to touch. She sprinted faster, her black silk dress like a waving flag. He accelerated, everything but the sight of her falling away. They were even now, face to face beneath a gazebo, the autumn air just beginning to darken the leaves. He heard her voice, a sound that once upon a time made him mad with a boundless and wild joy. Between them rose a glint of silver and cream. A pearl-handled revolver. The crack of the bullet shook the birds from the trees. Part 1. The Pursued and the Pursuing. All the rope he wants. The house seemed out of a Bavarian fairy tale, rambling and turreted, laced with gingerbread cornicing and columns arched like sharp, imperious brows. It was the finest house in Price Hill, the finest neighborhood in Cincinnati, perched high above the Ohio River in its basin of residence and commerce, the downtown business district, the black families in the West End, and the German immigrants in Over the Rhine, where Prohibition forced breweries to sell root beer in the hope of surviving the law. Already he envisioned what his dream palace would become. A Roman garden, a baseball field, a heated pool, a library stocked with books, presidential biographies, the epic poems of Homer and Milton, tomes of mythology and obscure science that would testify to the surprising depths of his mind. In this house he would once again become someone new, a superior version of himself. In this house, the world would come to know his name. George Remus would be 44 years old that November of 1920, and had spent the first half of his life gathering momentum for the second. He was the embodiment of the new decade, a harbinger of its grandest excesses and darkest illusions. He endeavored to become the best in the country at his chosen profession, a profession that could not have flourished so dramatically in any other era, nor become so swiftly obsolete. As America reinvented itself, Remus would do the same, living in rabid service to his own creation, protecting it at all costs. The cornerstone of this creation, the fulcrum that would allow him to pivot and rise, was Augusta Imogene Remus, formerly Augusta Imogene Holmes. Imogene, as she preferred, was 35, with dark hair and eyes and a voluptuous figure better suited to the bustles and billowing sleeves of decades past. They'd met 5 years earlier at his office in downtown Chicago, where Remus had been one of the city's preeminent defense attorneys, and Imogene a dust girl, sweeping the floors and tidying his desk. She'd confided in him about her divorce, which had been plodding along painfully for years, as she and her husband separated 10 times before finally going to court. Remus could commiserate. He too had suffered marital strife. Lillian, his wife and the mother of his teenaged daughter Romola, once filed for divorce charging cruelty, pure malice, and a habit of coming home early in the morning. They had subsequently reconciled, but their union remained tenuous. Imogene saw her chance. Remus accepted her as a client and promptly fell in love. He told Imogene everything, sharing long-buried tales of his past, the quirks and compulsions that shaped him now. He recounted his first memory, the journey from Germany to Ellis Island in 1883, when he was 6 years old, traveling with 2 sisters and a mother so beleaguered that, when questioned by immigration officials, she couldn't recall the names of 4 other children who'd died. In America, they reunited with Remus's father, Franz, since anglicized to Frank, and settled in Chicago. Remus remembered his father coming home drunk from the corner saloon and evolving, week by week, into a mean and abusive alcoholic. He vowed that he would never drink a drop of alcohol. When Frank developed rheumatism and could no longer work, Remus quit the 8th grade to take a job at his uncle's pharmacy on the city's west side, earning $5.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?